Your body never lies. If you are feeling exhausted and it's not from overworking, but it's from overstressing because of your work, that is a red flag. This whole time, you've been looking for the secret to work-life balance. And today, I'm going to tell you the secret of what you really mean by saying work-life balance. Hello, welcome to the Business of Happiness podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Tarryn MacCarthy, and today is going to be a fabulous day. It's going to be a great day because today we're going to uncover what you really mean. Because guess what? You don't really want work-life balance. It's actually something else. I know, isn't that crazy? And I think this is why work-life balance is so elusive. It's because none of us know what it really means. I mean, ask yourself that question right now. What does it actually mean? You know, it's kind of like saying, I just want to transform my life. Okay, well, what do you really mean by that? Or even when we say, I want to be successful. Yeah, I agree. I hear you. But what does that actually mean? I mean, if I were to wave a magic wand right now and give you anything you want to be quote unquote successful, what would that be? That's where the magic lies, is in the clarity of what we actually mean. So on a day-to-day basis, when we're walking around saying, I am just hungry for work-life balance, who can give me the secret to work-life balance? Well, what do you actually mean? See, because we don't actually all mean the same thing. And that's why there's no silver bullet to work-life balance, because the meaning behind it is so individual to you. So today, I'm going to give you some new questions to ask yourself with greater clarity so you can stop chasing this elusive unicorn called work-life balance and actually go after what you really want. See, because our work and our lives are so complex. It's not that simple. And it's not as simple as a teeter-totter balancing act, like those scales, judiciary scales of good and evil, work and life. That's not what it is. Work is so much more complex. What does work even mean to you? And what does life even mean to you? Right? So in this episode, we're just going to ask some questions and get super curious. So I ask you for a moment to set aside all self-judgment, all self-blame and critique and guilt and shame just for a moment. I know it's so hard, especially if you've been practicing shame and guilt for your entire life, which, trust me, I identify with. I am a recovering shame and guilt addict. For 43 years, I lived my life in shame and guilt, no matter what I did. And that actually is my first component of asking you about work-life balance, because really, that's what I meant by work-life balance. I just wanted to get rid of the shame and guilt. I mean, just for a moment, imagine shame and guilt as a really heavy coat, a coat that's filled with heavy bricks, and each brick represents something else you're feeling guilty or shameful about. Imagine this coat has multiple pockets in it, all over the place. And in each pocket is a different size and weight brick. My heaviest brick used to be being a good mother. The shame and guilt I carried around every mothering decision I ever made. Man, that weighed me down. Another brick I used to wear was guilt about not being a phenomenal team leader to my team at work. for this incredible team that was delivering my dreams, treating patients, creating my world, and living out my dream, my vision for this practice, and constantly feeling inadequate about being the best team leader for them. Another brick that I used to carry is guilt or shame that maybe I hadn't represented myself properly to my patients, that I hadn't given them every teeny tiny detail, every teeny tiny component of informed consent, and informed consent with their finances, with their demographic information, with every possible outcome for treatment, with every possible treatment possibility and treatment plan. Shame and guilt, shame and guilt. And I kept tucking little stones and little bricks in more and more pockets. That heavy coat I carried around with me everywhere. And when I was crying for work-life balance, I look back now and I realize I just wanted to take off my damn coat. If I could just have released that heavy burden that I was creating for myself every day at work and at home and about my body. I mean, I was creating shame and guilt about my body, that I wasn't taking time for myself to take care of myself, shame and guilt. That I was escaping into alcohol, another brick of shame and guilt. See, actually, my life was looking pretty darn good. I had a really beautiful component of working. I was only working 3 days a week in practice with patients. Beautiful family, phenomenal friendships, going away on vacations about twice a year. I actually had a really nice quote unquote balance. And yet the shame and guilt made everything feel out of whack. And so when I was crying for work-life balance, I didn't even realize that meant my coat of many colors and many weights of shame and guilt. And I just needed permission and some practice to put that down. And so I ask you now, is that what you mean by work-life balance? If nothing else changed in your whole life, is that what you mean? If you could just stop feeling guilty and shameful about things all the time, if you could just go about your day enjoying every single moment, is that what you mean? Because isn't that interesting? Doesn't that open a whole new world of insight to you? Oh, I'm not looking for this, Xbox, X Factor, quote unquote, throw in, catch all diagnostic bubble that holds a whole bunch of things called work-life balance. I'm actually narrowing in on what it is. And you know what it is? If I could just let go of shame and guilt and show up as the mom that I am, show up as the leader that I am, as the doctor that I am, as the friend that I am, as the human in this body that I am, at this weight, in this level of fitness, and let go of the shame and guilt, then actually this life would look pretty damn good. Or are you maybe saying that you're exhausted? See, I think many times when people say work-life balance, I wish I had work-life balance, they're actually saying I'm exhausted and I need permission to rest. Does that ring a bell for you? Maybe it's just you're exhausted. And one way to know that is check in with your body. Do you just need a nap? Do you just need better sleep hygiene every single night? Or do you need a good, solid vacation away from it all? A break. An Airbnb in the next town over where there are no responsibilities, where there are no people asking you and begging of you and clawing at you. Do you just need a break? I mean, sometimes that's all it takes. Have you ever had one of those where you go away and you feel totally refreshed? And I'm not talking about those vacations where you're so amped up before you even go that it takes you half the vacation to just calm yourself down. And then you are nervous the rest of the vacation because you're having the Sunday scaries every single day, knowing it's about to end, it's about to end, it's about to end. And you come back and you're like, oh my God, how do I hold on to that feeling? Because I don't feel like I'm quite there yet. I also don't mean the kinds of vacations where you go away and you do more work, where you tell yourself it's a vacation, but you actually come home more exhausted and you need a vacation from your vacation. Hands up if you've done that. I'm holding both of my hands up really high, because I was the queen at overdoing, quote unquote, my vacations. But maybe that's what you're asking for in your quote unquote work-life balance. Maybe it's just asking for rest. And maybe it's not just one single rest. It's actually taking responsibility to incorporate it into your year, into your month, maybe into your week. Maybe you're recognizing, you know what? I don't take enough time off, free of all the responsibilities. Because I think another thing that many of us mean when we say work-life balance, we actually are saying that our responsibilities to our families are not being met because work is taking precedence. Not truly work-life balance. No. All you're saying is, I've put work as a priority over family, and now it's beginning to hurt. And I'm beginning to feel that impact in my heart. I'm beginning to see the impact in my family members. Maybe you're a parent and maybe you're not. Maybe you're just recognizing, my parents don't have much longer left on this earth, and I'm really craving time with them. So maybe that work-life balance is just giving yourself permission to put more attention where your heart is calling. In this situation, to your family. Maybe you're recognizing, my kids aren't going to be this age forever. And this is a precious moment. And that age, by the way, could be anything. I used to think that, once my kids got beyond like the toddler age and they got into school, there'd be more room. No, that's not true. All of you moms out there know this. When they get into school, that's when things start picking up. That's when the muffins from mom happen in the middle of the day that you miss because you have patient care. That's when the award ceremony happens on a Thursday night that they let you know 2 weeks before, and you have a study club that you're presenting at. That's when your kid has a performance at the end of the school year, and every kid has a performance, and there's a party for every class, and there's an award ceremony, and you have already scheduled yourself so much during that time that you're going to have to miss some things. So guess what? It doesn't matter what age. Even when they get older and they can drive, trust me, that's when you start craving the one-on-one time with them. And you realize, oh, wait a minute, I'm so busy, and I've created a culture of busy in my kid, and now we don't even see each other, and they only have a few months left before they move out. So there's no critical age when we realize we need more time for our kids. That season ebbs and flows, and maybe that's what you mean by better work-life balance is, wait a minute, I've been prioritizing work and not prioritizing what's now tugging at my heartstrings. And if that's what you're recognizing it is, then bravo. You have the power to grant yourself permission to do exactly that. And here's the phenomenal thing about that permission. It doesn't have to be forever. What if you gave yourself permission, if right now this is what you're recognizing? Okay, so we're going through this list today. I'm asking you a few questions to clarify what you mean by work-life balance, and I've just hit the nail on the head. When I said your work is being prioritized over your family, and now it's tugging at your heartstrings, and you thought, that's it, that's the one. Guess what? You have permission to alter your schedule, your responsibilities at work temporarily. It doesn't have to be forever. And I know that sounds so scary, right? Because we have stories in our heads. Wait a minute, if I cut back to 2 days a week, am I going to shrink my practice so much that I'll never grow it again? No, that's not true. You grew this practice once before. Okay, let's say you're an associate. The story in your head might be, if I tell my boss that I would rather work 4 days a week instead of 5, or I really want to leave by 4 o'clock so that I can have the afternoons this summer with my kids and have a little bit more time with them. And you think, oh my gosh, they're going to start losing faith in me. They're going to find a new associate. No, that's a story in your head. What if by you asking that question of your boss, you're actually giving your boss permission to do the same? Guess what? We're all human beings. We all are constantly seeking permission from people outside of ourselves when we have the power to give it to ourselves. And let me shine another little truth light on you for a moment. If your boss doesn't recognize your values and recognize that this season in your life, you need a little more time with your family, and honor you and respect you for having the courage for asking, and at least entertain a conversation of what that could look like, then my friend, maybe you're in the wrong place. Because very likely your values are not aligned. And who wants to work in any job, in any profession where the values are not aligned with you? That is not a definition of success. And guess what? That might exactly be what you mean by work-life balance. We've come to the fourth possibility and question for clarity over work-life balance. Are you feeling like where you work is not in alignment with your higher self or your values? Are you going to work every day and taking action in a way that does not feel good to you, that leaves you feeling uncomfortable every single night and robbing you of precious time? Is the time that you're seeking actually being taken up by ruminating and replaying events that have happened during your day because they don't feel so good in your body? Your body never lies. If you are feeling exhausted and it's not from overworking, but it's from overstressing because of your work, that is a red flag. Are you struggling for work-life balance because you're not finding that fulfillment at work? Because you're constantly doing things that don't feel right to you? What might that look like? Well, one of them could very likely be in your power to take action on. And that might be, are you not setting and upholding boundaries for yourself, your physical self, your emotional self, your energetic self at work? Could that be what you mean by work-life balance? Is work sucking the life out of you because, and here's the uncomfortable truth, you have allowed it to? See, we constantly say, oh, it's my boss. Oh, it's the patients. Oh, it's the team. Oh, it's the economy. Oh, it's the insurance companies. Guess what? You are so much more powerful than you give yourself credit for. You have the power to choose a new job. Look for a new position. You have the power to create some clear boundaries for yourself, for your time, for your body. Look, I will and I won't tolerate this. What is that for you? Maybe just by being clear on what your boundaries are, or taking a little step back and redefining them, and then honoring them, giving yourself permission to uphold those boundaries, maybe That is the solution to your ever present quest for work-life balance. Maybe that's all it takes. Maybe it's as simple as, I am exhausted working 12-hour days. I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. But man, if I worked in that same place for 9 hours, well, life would be pretty damn good. Look at that. Work-life balance solved. Hey guys, I'm interrupting your podcast episode to let you know about an incredible new program that I am launching in January of 2023. It is specifically for practitioners in medicine and dentistry to help you rediscover happiness and inner fulfillment within your profession and your life. I remember what it was like for me when years ago I was so depressed and anxious and feeling like I had created and built a treadmill I just couldn't get off of, pushing through every day and wishing my life away. This program is the how of how to find happiness in your practice and in your life, because we know that when we feel good, that's when we can do good. Check out thebizofhappiness.com/radical happiness, or click the link in the show notes. I cannot wait to see you there. And here's the interesting thing. When you start stepping into your power and you start upholding those boundaries with love, well, hold on, I'm taking a little side note there for a moment. The way that boundaries work is not enforcing them with anger or defensiveness or resentment, but enforcing them with deep love. Okay, now that's a superpower. Conversation for another time, but maintain that perspective, please. When we enforce our boundaries from a place of deep love and honor and respect, that's amazing. That's effective. Okay. So once we get to that place and we start enforcing our boundaries, we start honoring our boundaries from a place of love, when you do that, it opens a whole new world of empowerment. And maybe you start recognizing other things in your life with more clarity of what you actually meant by work-life balance. You start realizing, oh, wait a minute. Now that I'm creating nice, clear boundaries at work and I'm beginning to see the impact of it, for example, I really deserve a full lunch break and I'm going to set my boundaries there. And so every time I call to talk to a referring dentist and they say, let's talk over lunch during my lunch break, you realize, no, wait a minute. For me, it's important to actually take a full lunch. And zero judgment if you like to have conversations over lunch because that means a little bit of social engagement for you. That's totally different. I'm talking about if your lunches are precious and you need that time and you've created that boundary for yourself and now you're willing to uphold it and you start realizing, wow, I'm feeling pretty good. I don't need to change my whole life. I just need to honor my lunch break. And you start reaping the benefits of it, and suddenly the afternoon feels great. And suddenly getting home to your family feels great. You're going to start noticing that power everywhere in your life because the way we do one thing is the way we do everything. So if you've allowed your boundaries to be stepped on at work, chances are you've allowed it to happen in your private life as well. And then you start realizing, oh my gosh, that friend of mine that keeps asking me to do things for her, I love her, but this is beginning to feel like a transactional relationship. I need to be able to put some clear boundaries down of when and where I am available to support her. And once again, out of love. From a place of love, not because we want to get rid of that friend, but because we want to keep her. So allow yourself to be redefining this quote unquote work-life balance forever. It's not a one and done because things change in our lives. So then it gives us insight to more clarity. Clarity leads to further clarity. Once we stop begging for this nebulous, elusive, undefined work-life balance, and we start getting very clear, now we can take action on our dreams and things become more clear. So don't worry if that happens. Just be excited. Oh, look at that. There's another opportunity there for me to be even more clear on what I mean. Maybe by saying you need work-life balance, and this is for all my entrepreneurs out there, maybe you're saying you've noticed you have no room left for creativity. And guys, I just really want to honor this specific point here because I believe that every single one of us I believe it's a deep human need for creativity. I don't think there's one person out there that is not a creative person. I think that is a part of our human design. And I think when creativity is missing, it feels wounding. It feels empty. I've never met a person who doesn't crave creation of some kind. And I don't think it's just us women who that's a part of our DNA. I mean, that's what our bodies are built for. And I don't think it's just us entrepreneurs who it's a part of our DNA. It's what our bodies are built for. If you are a born entrepreneur, you know exactly what I mean. You will never rest unless you're creating. See, I don't think it's just us. And I don't think it's just the moms out there who love creating birthday parties or the wives out there who love having events at the home and entertaining. And I don't think it's just us novelists and authors who need to put what's burning in our hearts to paper. And I don't think it's just us podcasters. And I don't think it's just us course creators. I think that all of us have a deep need for creativity. And when that whisper of, ooh, I feel like I need work-life balance creeps in, do you really mean you need space? Because we all know creativity cannot be forced. Creativity is not one of those things that we can put on the calendar and say from 1 to 2 every Monday, that's my creation time. It's not how it works. It is how it works when we take action on our creativity. Yes, absolutely. I'm a huge proponent of having a discipline around writing, around creation, around podcasting. Absolutely, the discipline is required. But the spaciousness is required too. We need space to create. And that space looks like no agenda, no achievement, no accomplishment expectations. It looks like space. And your space could look very different from mine. Maybe it looks like being on a bicycle, flying down the road for 100 miles. And maybe your spaciousness looks like sitting on a rocking chair in front of a beautiful vista for hours. And maybe your spaciousness looks like floating in a pool. But if you recognize every single one of those components doesn't have an agenda, doesn't have an outcome, creativity requires spaciousness. And I believe all of us need spaciousness in our lives. And I use that word purposefully because it means something very different to each of us. And I'm not talking about playing with your kids. I'm not talking about hanging out with your friends. I'm not talking about scrolling on your telephone, on your iPhone. I'm talking about absolute spaciousness. And is that what you mean by work-life balance? That your life is calling for spaciousness, for creativity, for new insights and new perspective. Very different from rest, very different from recovery. It's allowing your creative juices to flow, those incredible downloads to happen, whatever you call them. That happens under a very specific set of circumstances that only you know and are familiar with. And if you're craving that and the permission for that, my friend, that is within your power. You get to choose. So now, do you have a little more clarity over what you mean by work-life balance? And I have one more. I apologize. I left this one out, but it's an important one. And it's going back to the shame and guilt part of things. Because sometimes we use the fact that work-life balance is so elusive, as an excuse. As an excuse to not take care of our bodies. Aha. See, because work-life balance doesn't actually exist, because it's not actually a defined thing, because there is no algorithm for quote-unquote work-life balance, sometimes we use it as an excuse for not taking care of ourselves. Oh, because I haven't figured out work-life balance, because I've not found the podcast that gives me the answer to work-life balance. I am not taking care of my body. I'm not stretching. This body that's hunched over patients every day and hunched over computers every day. I'm not eating well because I'm so stressed out because I don't have work-life balance. I'm not sleeping well. I'm not taking care of this meat suit that is an absolute critical component to what we do every single day. There's nothing that you do, none of what I mentioned today, not caring for your family, not caring for your patients, not leading your team, not finding spaciousness for creativity. None of it is possible without your body. So are you using the fact that work-life balance doesn't exist as an excuse not to take care of this body, and we know what to do? Yes, sometimes we need accountability. We need a nutritionist or a personal trainer or a gym or friends to show up on a Wednesday night to go for a run. Yes, accountability is huge, but when it gets down to it, you know what to do. You know when that right shoulder is feeling tight. You know when your fingertips are going numb. You know when your neck is feeling tight and sore, and if you might move one direction in the wrong way or pick up a bag the wrong way, you're going to throw it out. Am I speaking to you right now? Because is your frustration of not finding work-life balance your excuse for not doing what you know you need to do? And I'm not even going to say it. You know what you need to do. So there you go. What do you really want? Seriously. I want you to ask yourself this question. Where am I censoring myself and my dreams? Where am I not allowing myself to know the answer to work-life balance? Where am I looking for everyone else to tell me what that is, but not taking the time to ask myself what I mean? Because the answers are all within you. This whole podcast has just been an opportunity to ask yourself a few questions, to give yourself clarity, because it's the clarity that allows you to know. And I know your brain's going to feed you ridiculous things like, I don't know the answer, and I don't know what I need. Take the time to ask yourself again, if you did know, what would the answer be? And allow it to be small. Allow it to just be one thing that you think it is and take action on it. Allow it to be just one small thing. Allow what we've talked about in today's episode to just spark your curiosity about one of those things. Oh, you know what? She hit on boundaries. Yeah, I think that's it. And explore what that is. Start putting some boundaries in place. Start asking yourself what they need to be. Start enforcing them. Start giving yourself permission to enforce them. And then take a deep breath and ask yourself again, was that it? How do I feel now? Maybe it's been a little bit of each of these. Oh, wait a minute, you're right. I should be stretching. If I just felt better in my body, I would actually feel better about my life. So I need a little bit of help and accountability for that. I'm going to sign up for a yoga class. Okay. Then let this be easy, friends. Let this not be another arduous to-do task, another big transformation, another life-altering component that you never can quite achieve. Let it just be small. And let those small changes in your life start building you up and empowering you. All right, I have one more suggestion. If you haven't already, please take my happiness quiz for doctors. It's another way to open your eyes into where you're feeling that imbalance. And actually, it brings in a couple more areas that we didn't even talk about today. Finances, relationships, personal, significant other relationships. Because our happiness is so complex. Our lives are so much more complex than just work and life. There's so much more to it. So go ahead. If you haven't yet taken the happiness quiz, text the word happy quiz. So I know that's 2 words, but happy quiz, HAPPYQUIZ, to the number 66866. Easy to remember. So you're going to go to your messaging app. You're going to type in 66866. That's the number you're sending this text to. And you're putting in the word happy quiz. No space between the happy and the quiz. One word, happy quiz. And what you'll actually receive is beautiful hi from me asking you to send your email address to me. And then I'll send you the link to your email address. And don't be mad if the second time it asks your email address again. Sorry, guys, this is just how the system works. But you will get to the happy quiz, I promise you. And let the happy quiz be a little bit of an exploration for you of understanding where that imbalance is landing for you. Because only you have the answers. You know, I honor you. And I thank you for listening to this episode. And I honor you for just being curious and heeding the call for something more in your life, for knowing that there's an imbalance, and for loving yourself enough to take action on it. That's brave. It's courageous. This is how we teach our next generation to strive for happiness. We give them permission to strive for happiness because, guys, what is the point if we're not finding joy in our lives? If tomorrow were your last day on earth, then what was the point of it all if it didn't also allow you happiness? You deserve happiness. And remember, when you feel good, that is actually when you can really do good. Bye-bye.